fire horse.
Yep.
Now, what does that mean, mate? What's the fire horse?
So the fire horse is abundance, obviously super high energy, and then come fire horse, he goes screaming out the gate, and he will take whatever you've got with you. So if you've got positive, clear energy, and you're looking for complete change, cleans everything, mate, burns everything to the ground, and you start again.
Welcome to the Find Your Influence podcast with Anton Guinea, where we unpack all things influence and we help leaders particularly find their influence by talking to amazing humans and finding out what influence means to them, who they've been influenced by, and who they have influenced. And this podcast episode, proudly sponsored by the Guinea Group of Companies. The Guinea Group helps leaders upgrade, upskill, uplift their teams and their influence. Team, welcome to the Find Your Influence podcast with Anton Guinea, where we discuss all things influence and have some really cool conversations with amazing humans. And I'm so grateful that people like Savvy Steve today come and give us their time and their energy to be part of these conversations, because I feel like it's just such an important topic to share with the planet. Savvy Steve's the founder and the CEO, and as Steve just said, probably the face of a company called Savvy Touch, and I'll tell you what that's all about in a sec. So Savvy Steve is a seasoned entrepreneur, and he's a visionary founder and CEO of Savvy Touch, which is a New Zealand-based wellness and performance brand that Steve has led for over 18 years. Anyone that's been in business any amount of time, let alone 18 years, should be commended. I'm telling you, Steve would have seen some big business cycles come and go in that time. Under his leadership, Savvy Touch has grown from humble beginnings into a trusted name in natural health products, recognised across Australia, New Zealand and beyond for its commitment to quality, innovation and tangible results. And I know I use it most days, and I'm nearly run out of my first bottle too, which I'll tell you about. And that bottle is Rocket Fuel. At the heart of Savvy Touch's success is the flagship product, Rocket Fuel, which is a 100% natural respiratory support formula engineered to support clearer breathing, which I take before I go running, improve performance and faster recovery for everyday users, athletes alike. It's actually crafted in New Zealand, and I love the backstory to Rocket Fuel, which you'll hear from Steve today. Premium natural ingredients like Manuka honey and essential oils, Rocket Fuel has gained widespread acclaim for its effectiveness and its purity. Before we talk about Rocket Fuel, though, Savvy Steve, welcome. What have I forgotten in that intro, mate? Anything else that you'd like to add?
Anton, welcome, bro. I appreciate being here. Oh no, you pretty much knocked it over, mate. Good after that.
Thank you.
Listening, going, wow, yeah, that's all true.
That's good. Whew. Yeah, I think I'm true. Oh, don't worry. I have got some of them, Steve. So my amazing Deb in our office, who schedules all these, occasionally she does one, and I'll read it out. And the person will say, wrong profile. Thank you for the feedback. So we get a new language. Mate, so I love the backstory. I know the backstory of Rocket Fuel, but maybe you could tell everyone the backstory to it before we start talking about influence. Is that all right? Like, I'd love to know just a bit of your work with horses and, your sort of background.
So, yeah, super long story short, universe about 30 odd years ago really gave me a bread up the arse and said, go in this direction. Prior to that, had been, an entrepreneur. Was one of the first in New Zealand to bring in copy eyewear, so running around with all the Gucci's and everything that were turned upside down. I had New Zealand going like a train. I had Fiji, all the resorts in Fiji going like a train. Coming off that, developed reactive apparel, which was corporate apparel. A little plug. So we had all sorts of gigs going on. The crash came and smoked us really hard. So we lost, the tourist industry. We lost tons of corporates. At that point, I was too kind to a few big companies. Had let them get away out to 60, 90 days on some big stuff. So we got smashed, got really fucking pumped. And it was grinding, starting to come back into getting things going again. By then we had our daughter, and very shortening the story. I've always been into horses. My mum was actually an instructor, so I was brought up around horses. Always had massive affinity. Met Lindsay, my wife. She was riding. At that point, I hadn't been riding for a long time. Got back into it. Roll on a bunch of years. Our daughter wanted to start riding, and we got her into a riding school. And at this riding school, there was a mad-ass looking horse who had been abandoned. Absolutely beautiful, a pinto. So he was, the Indian horse, beautiful tan, beautiful white horse, mad as a meat axe. And I saw this boy, and I'm like, what is going on? Why is he that just by himself? Or spoke to some people, and they said, oh, he's batshit crazy, mate. He's big as been. And long story, after a few weeks, I said to Lindsay, I'm going to buy him. She goes, what are you talking about? And I said, well, I'm going to buy him, mate. I said, we've got a connection, and so I bought him off the cousins up north. Turns out he'd been emotionally and physically absolutely smashed. I won't go into some of the horror stories that I heard about him, but he basically he hated humans, he certainly hated men. At the point that I put a deck chair in the paddock waiting for him to come up, and generally horses are relatively acquisitive, and within half an hour, they'll be walking around you, eating grass, but they'll come up just to see what the hell you're doing. 6 weeks, mate, I'm sitting in a paddock. He couldn't get a shit. Lindsay could walk down to him and see him. Started shortening the paddock. Wouldn't come near me. Long story, got a breakthrough. Started working with him, and his trust was negative 300. Started getting him up to about a negative 100. Started getting into the you might be all right stage. But physically, his body was absolutely wrecked. He'd been abused so hard that he was
Physically injured.
Physically injured, mate. Long story. I'll give you a quick idea. The boys I bought it off said, "Bro, do you know how tough this horse is?" We had him hobbled, meaning one leg was tied up, so he's on 3 legs. I still smashed my brother into a fence and broke his leg, but we fix him, bro. We just throw him into a horse float that doesn't have a floor, and we just run them until they drop. But this boy wouldn't drop. So his neck was like this, because he had a rope around his neck, and he's pulling against it running. I'd heard about horse workers, horse chiropractors, heard about the best one in New Zealand. This guy rolls up to the stables. He starts walking around, touching about half a dozen. There was about half a dozen of us lined up. And I've always had a thing where I've been able to see what's wrong with people. I could look at you and go, your neck's out, your shoulder's sore, and I'd just be able to walk up and give you a bit of a click and a clack. I never thought anything about it, mate. I just thought everybody had the same deal. Turns out that's not right. So this guy walked past me, came around for the second time, and I said, what do I owe you? And he said, nothing, mate, we haven't finished yet. And I said, no, you're done. It was, I know what it takes to move a person, let alone what it takes to move a horse. Energy is definitely involved because of their sensitivity. And I call them nature's purest form. They're literally a mirror. So if you stare in a mirror with a shit attitude, you're going to get a shit attitude staring back at you. If you're looking in the mirror going, man, you're a positive, days on, everything's positive, that's what you're going to get back, 100%. Magnify that with 4 legs and about 600 kilos and you've got a horse, okay? So this guy was useless. I went to a massage clinic, and I lasted about 2 hours there, and I was like, this is bullshit. And he's like, hey, just do what you do. Just go and start working on the horse. Just treat him like a human and start working. And so I started working on his shoulder. Next thing, he spins his head and I got this big crack. I went, oh, that's pretty cool. Did some more work, got some more adjustments. His head started coming down and just started working, just started releasing them. And I thought, this is cool. Did some investigation. Shiatsu is absolutely massive. So that's basically acupuncture using your fingers and elbows and hands and everything on a body. So on a person, I knew all the chakra points, knew what was what. On a horse, I had no idea, mate. None. So I looked up, where are the chakra points on a horse? And there's a lot of them. And the work I was doing, I was absolutely bang on these things, but I had no idea. And I was looking at it, and it was A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and I'm like, well, I might be strong enough to go A to G. So I started these techniques, bloody worked. And started changing the horse, like physically, emotionally, and he just changed. He physically changed. He filled out, energy changed, everything changed. You know, my daughter was hopping on bareback and cruising, and people at the stable said, "Can you work on my horse?" And I went, "Yeah, sure." You know, started working on him. Roll on a few years. I was like, "Guys, I'm going to have to start charging." You know, and I started, it was a real sideline gig, but I loved it. And because I was doing it, I needed products for myself. And the products that I saw in the marketplace were absolute crap. And when I was a kid back in my 20s, so I'm 60 this year, so it was a long time ago, I was an Australasian sales manager for a huge aromatherapy company. Knew the power of essential oils, knew what I wanted. Pretty much in my head, I knew what the essential oils horses would love and what I needed to work with. So I took all these bottles out to the horses, held them up. If they touched them, I worked off them. If they turned their nose away, I wouldn't use them. Started developing products, and the first two products I developed was our cooling gel and what is now our hand and heel balm, and back then it was called a hoof paste. And the cooling gel was fucking awesome, and it's we've added to it over the last 19 plus years. It'll be 30 years since I first developed it. So yeah, good 19 years it's been in production now, and we've given it some tweaks. Long story, was working away, a guy called up and said, "Hey, it's Mark Todd here." And I went, "Oh yeah, sure it is." And Mark Todd's one of New Zealand's most famous eventers. He was making a comeback for the Olympics. He's like, "You've just worked on one of my horses, Tom Collins, down with this lady, Carolyn Jolly." And I went, "I had, mate. Is this actually Tom? Is this actually Mark?" And he goes, "Yeah, mate, it is." I just thought it was what my mates taking the piss. So he said, "I'm going to be at Puanui, huge event for a qualifier. I really want you to come and work on my other horses." I went, "Yeah, sure." So roll up, and there's thousands of people. So this is the end of the day. Thousands of people were watching, you know, wanting to see Mark. I worked on Mark physically. I gave him a sorting out. Came out. I'm working on his horse. Tons of there was thousands of people watching me, and I was like, "Fuck, no pressure." And one of the vets came in. His other horse, they were going to scratch because he was injured. And he's like, "Not before Steve has a go at him." And I'd literally known this guy for about 3 hours. So I was like, "Oh, shit." So we walked down to this pen, and it's me and Mark and about 5,000 ladies. You know, it felt like a bit of a Pied Piper. Hop into the pen. You know, it's probably about a 4-meter square, and no sides. Lots of other horses around. He's standing there looking at me, and he's got this huge displacement in his neck. His neck was out a mile. So I'm working away on him, trying to release as much as I could. Every time I came off his neck, he would just walk back into my hands. And I'm literally talking to him going, "Mate, I can't adjust. This adjustment's too big. I'm just trying to release it just so I can get through tomorrow." You know, we're having a bit of a conversation. And in the end, he just would not leave me alone. He just, "Nah, you've got to do my neck." So anyway, I size up this adjustment and halter in one hand, got my hand on the neck, left hand on the halter, right hand on his neck, and I just slammed this thing, man. I hit it with everything I've got, and it'll go to the grave with me. I remember this massive crack, my hands going through his neck as I let go, and he's like levitating through the air. And I'm going, "Well, this is it's either going to be really good or it's going to be really bad." So he lands and his head hits the ground, like his nose just goes straight to the ground. And he hadn't been able to get his head lower than his shoulders because his neck was so stuffed. Nose hits the ground. His ears fall up forward. And I'm looking at him going, this is pretty cool. And he just starts shaking, his whole body's shaking. He's just releasing. And I'm just transfixed on him, just going, mate, this is awesome. Lifts his head up, turns around, looks at me, walks straight over, shoves his head straight on my heart. I'm just sitting there scratching his ears, just talking to him, and he's just blowing, and just, incredible moment. I hear this weird sound. And I look around, it's 5,000 women crying, mate. A lady had zoomed off to a car. She had gone and got a diary. And I was just given pages and pages of names. You've got to come and work on my horse. And that's how Savvy Touch started. And from there, I just started going around all the private ladies. And a bunch of them said, I've got racehorses down in this town called Cambridge. I want you to go down and look after them. And I went, yeah, sure. I'd go down and look after these horses, and most of them were dogs. They were fifth and sixth, where they suddenly started getting thirds and seconds. And then I worked on a few better ones for the thirds. They started winning. Name got out real quick. So Savvy Steve was born. And from there we started developing more products, really as a bit of a sideline. And our whole catch cry, it didn't matter what product, we tested everything on ourselves. We developed the hair and body wash on ourselves, on my daughter, then would use it on the horses. So with Savvy Touch, and so Savvy means the knowing and the knowledge, having the knowing and the knowledge, and the touch was both myself, the touch of my hand, as well as the touch of the product. So our original labels had a horse with a hand on it. And so that was pretty encompassing. And all the colors that we use on our labeling is all color therapy. So we don't shove that down people's throats, but the range is really holistic, and it's very, very pure, and it works stupidly well. And it works stupidly well, not because of the ingredients. Like, anyone can make a natural product, but what was important to me with essential oils is, or any ingredient, they all had to work together. They had to be synergistic with the next ingredient and make that stronger. Not just work with it, but they had to interlink. And that's, you felt it with rocket fuel. You feel the climbing effect of the rocket fuel as it goes on. It just keeps building. That's the ingredients. That's their synergy as they each go, oh, I've got you. Yeah, now this has come on board. Yeah, let's go. And it just keeps building. And that's what happens with all our ingredients. There's nothing special except for the way we put it together. And by default, all our products originally were topical, all applied to the skin, etc. A skin smoothie, which we still have today, that's used as our hydrating moisturizer, and it was developed for the horses as a wound repair cream, and it got nicknamed our That Can't Be Right product. People would apply it into the wound, and they'd come back the next day and go, fuck, that can't be right. Like, the healing was so quick, right? Crazy quick and crazy good. And people were applying it over their hands. And I don't know if you know about horse trainers, but their hands are wrecked, mate. They're like farmers, constantly wet, covered in shit. So they're a mess. They started calling out, going, dude, the psoriasis, it's gone. I'm like, awesome. That's cool. He goes, no, you don't understand, mate. I've had 28 years of this shit. I've had every medical procedure you can, every drug. Nothing's worked. Only thing I've changed is your product. Never thought in a million years we'll be able to break into the human market. Roll on another bunch of years, the equine flu came through, and everyone reached out and said, Savvy, you got to make something, bro. The horses are dying. Spent a couple of weeks of blowing our heads off. Knew what the horses would love. Straight away in my head, this is going to work. Going to need a carrier. Best carrier in the world is Manuka honey. Horses love honey. Super sweet, into it. Hand mixing this stuff. Blowing our nuts off. first time I tried it, I was like, holy shit, this is really strong. But by this time, Lindsay had developed adult asthma. She was on 2 inhalers a day, and she took, would have been half a teaspoon, so about 2.5 mil. She just scooped some up. I was about to say too much. She's on the deck, mate. Literally, mouth open, lungs have been pulled apart. It's so much faster than an inhaler. So long story, that winter, I was zooming around with a 20-litre pail, hand mixing every stable I went into. And I remember walking up to the first horse, big 10 mil syringe. So the dropper in the bottles you have hold 1 mil. And so you might be using 2 or 3 drops, maybe 4 or 5 drops. I loaded up 10 mils. So I loaded it up. I remember walking up to the first horse and knew him really, really well, so I was pretty confident. Boom, straight down the side of his mouth. Instantly his eyes popped, his ears went up, and he started sensing, that they'll lift their mouth. And I was just staring at him, and knew we've got it. And he just opened his mouth. He was literally breathing. Within 3 days, I knew we had a fantastic product. By the end of that week, I knew we had a fucking unbelievable product. Like, the amount of horses it saved was just crazy. So with a lot of animals, especially horses, if they get the flu, they drown because they don't have a coughing ability. They were coughing up. They were spewing up all this phlegm and all this shit from their lungs. Everyone just started calling up going, dude, this stuff is crazy. So we went straight into production. And production takes about nine months from the start of a new product. Because it's completely different going from 20-litre pails into 10,000 bottles, And every time we altered something, the whole formulation changed. And it took a long time to work out exactly where the stability is, what's going on. But we got it. And by then, same deal, we had so many people using the product, And at that point, it was, I was leaving little 2-litre pails of rocket fuel in the stables, and people were just chugging it. And they were like, mate, tastes like shit, but Jesus, I haven't had the flu. I've been giving it to my grandma. She's running around like a kid. This stuff's awesome. Throw my asthma inhalers away, and we're like, oh, let's have a crack. We'll put a little run out of small bottles. We had a big show coming up, and at that point it was called Liquid Easy Breathe. We had a nasal balm called Easy EZE Breathe, and that would go on the nose. Same sort of thing, but stayed nasal. So you can imagine like a Vicks Vapor Up type thing, but obviously 100 tons better than that. And but we're set up at Hawaii Horse of the Year. One of the top show jumpers came in really sick, and we had a 120 ml bottle at that point. It was plastic 120 ml bottle, and Bernard comes in and he's coughing and wheezing. He goes, "Oh, is this a new product, Sammy?" And he unscrews it and he just starts chugging it. And this is like 5 times stronger than what you've got now. And I'm like, no. So he hits the deck. It's literally coming out his ears and his mouth and his nose, and he's just. He probably got about 60 mil in, which was a huge dose. So I kick him out the back of the tent. So like, get out of here, son. 4 hours later, he walks in. He's like, mate, it's gone. Look, I'm clear. It's gone. I've got a hole in my stomach. Oh, Jesus Christ, this stuff is gone. My flu's gone. He told everybody. We had 600 units, mate. I thought it was going to be about a 3-month supply. We sold out 3 days, gone, out. And from that moment on, we started swapping. People would say, dude, I've got your cooling gel. I've got your 3-in-1 in our bathroom. And our guests won't use it because there's a horse on the label. And we're like, really? And they're like, yeah, mate. Even though it says tested on humans, they wouldn't use it. And so we took our sunscreen, we took the cooling gel, we took the skin smoothie. We'll do a test run. Relabeled everything. Put them out. Didn't think would take over the Equine products for maybe 18 months, 2 years. Weeks, mate. Just gone. And we, from that moment, we just started swapping out. Everything became a human range. And the making of us was COVID. So 2019, we were still being a bit of a sideline. And COVID came along. We were running out of product towards that December. So it must have been about September, October 2019. Reached out, yeah, we'll get it to you by Christmas. Sweet. January, didn't have a delivery. Called up, boys, where is it? Really short. And they're like, well, we can make it, we can't bottle it. I know, what are you talking about? They're like, well, we've been under government orders since October to make nothing but hand sanitizer. So you tell me it's not a crook of shit. And with that, I said, stick it in 20-litre pails, mate. I don't care. Just get it to us. We went to Aussie. We came back, it was late February, I think, just as we arrived. Yeah, we got it on the Friday. On the Sunday, they announced New Zealand lockdowns. And on Monday, all these trucks are coming up the drive. And Lindsay's like, what have you done? I said, I've just saved our ass. And 240 20-litre pails went into the garage. 9,000 bottles went into the garage. All the labels went into the garage. Lindsay and I, by ourselves, handmade, hand-mixed, hand-bottled, hand-labelled. And I was doing the Facebook ads at night. And we'd wake up in the morning and we had sales, mate. And we actually thought, oh my God, we're going to get a little business. And we had the best time through lockdown. It was just the two of us. And you could smell our house from about 3 k's away. And yeah, we had the best time, mate. And we started growing. And then we ran out. We was running really low. The factory was like, oh, I've got guys sick. I won't be able to make that delivery. But we've got it underway for you. And I thought, well, here's the test. And advertised, hey, we're out of stock. Get your orders in now. Price is going up. We got 800 orders that day, mate. We couldn't believe it. We hadn't even had 800 orders in a week, and we got 800 orders overnight. And that was the making a savvy touch right there. We actually got cash in the bank for the first time. And yes, we just couldn't believe it. So it was the two of us having a bit of a cry. And yeah, we started rocking and rolling from there. We started getting some really good things happening. And now we've got over 550 stockists through Australia and New Zealand. We're breaking into the States. We've got some big things happening in the States. We've got some stuff happening elsewhere that I can't touch on right now. But we're going hard, mate. Rocket fuel is by far the hero. We have rocket fuel and then the other products. But Savvy Touch, those products made us. They made us famous, mate. I use the term now that our original products made us famous, and rocket fuel has made us iconic. So,
Great state. Yeah.
yeah, we've done and doing a mahi, mate. We how can I put it? I think our success is when we're 100% passionate. The reason we started was to help our horses. The reason we continued once we were getting reviews back, oh my God, your skin smoothie has saved my daughter's life. She developed adult eczema. Your product has saved her. She's got her skin back. That's what kept us going, mate. Like like any small company, we struggled, man. There was more than one sleepless night, I can tell you. But for whatever reason, Lindsay many times said, babe, we've got to stop. The hole is too big. And me being a Taurus, I was like, I ain't quitting. And without a lie, mate, we would get a review the next day, 2 or 3 reviews that would just convince us we've got to keep pushing. And now, yep, she's 90% plus rocket fuel, just going stupid. We've now got the kids rocket fuel, which is the same formula but half strength. That one blew up really hard. Took us by surprise. 5,000 units in 4 weeks on the initial launch. The rocket fuel for athletes is the next one. That's been bubbling away for about 18 months, and the difference is the formulation is the same, but we had elite athletes reaching out going, dude, I love your product. We cannot use it. And I'm like, oh, what are you talking about? And they're like, the performance gains are so big that without certification, we just can't be sure that there's no bad products. I'm like, guys, it's 100%. That, there is no shit product. Doesn't matter unless it has the certification, means nothing. So back then we didn't have the funds to do certification. Doing a batch test is relatively easy. It's a single batch. Doing full certification requires 4 batches. And go back 5 years ago, we would do a batch a quarter. Well, now we do 4 batches a month. And batches, so we're talking, tens of thousands of units. So we ripped 4 batches up. They get certified. Then the next step, our manufacturer has to be certified. So the company is based in the UK. So they had to use laptops, walk around, showing the warehousing. This is where the ingredients come in. This is where it's stored. This is where it's made. And they're one of New Zealand's, well, they are New Zealand's highest quality controlled environment for both animal and human. And they were getting reamed. No, the ingredients have to go in its own cage. There has to be a minimum of 3 meters for any other product. This, that, and everything else. Like, was really, really ruthless. They get certified. Then our product chain had to be certified. So it's a huge exercise. It's a really, really big exercise. We were super quick, and it took 10 months. They have people still sitting in there 3, 4, 5 years later because they don't have the volume turnover. So they might be doing a batch a year, and getting through in 10 months was huge. So that is this guy here. So if we hold that up, if we get
He's just showing us a picture now of his certification, I think. I can't actually see it. I mean, the background. Here it is. Or,
Form Sport.
Oh, Perform Sport. Wow.
Informed.
Informed Sport.
Yeah.
Tested.
Tested.
Bravo.
So that's breaking us into the pro market, the elite athletes. That's part of our next big growth here. We've got some crazy stuff happening. I don't know if you follow soccer, but Auckland FC, the New Zealand Premier team, that they were third in their opening season last year. They broke every single record in the opening season. They reached out to us over a year ago. Guys, half the team is using your product. You need to come and see us. And so we bowl in there with their product sponsor now. We've got Counties Manukau Rugby. We've got dozens and dozens of top international rugby players around the world. We're breaking into the States in a big way with it. The universities reaching out. So the athlete version is ready to go.
Wow, congrats.
But I still think we're in a garage, mate. Yeah. Like I see these figures coming through, and I keep the foot on the accelerator. And I can remember our first should I bring it out? Yeah, I'll bring it out. So back in between 21 and 23, we had a unbelievable growth, like huge, 200 plus a month, a percent a month. We were just screaming. And we broke through our first $1 million month in August 23. And we knew we were on track. We were going to crush it. I remember sitting up in bed. It was about 11 o'clock at night. I'm just watching the sales come through. $1 million. Slammed it on the floor. Woke up the next morning into it. So I just, as big as we are, I think we're absolutely tiny. And I think we're absolutely only just starting.
Wow. So you've got to be very into this business.
Yeah, and I think, or I don't think I know, our success is because of our failures, and you got to fail hard, mate. And the companies that survive, they don't quit. They're the ones they've gone through the shit. They've taken the beatings. They're sitting in the red so deep. The bank's just sitting there going, "What do you want next, blood?" And you hang on. And it's been our belief, mate. Yep, 100%. Like I've even got fingernails back now, man. I didn't have fingernails for years. So yeah, and yeah, we do our absolute best to give back all over the place. We look after junior teams. We support them with everything we can. So yeah, we've got people reaching out to partner with us, which is super cool. So yeah, what's on the horizon is
Big.
Is really big.
If you're saying it's big, it sounds like it's massive. So
It's really big.
Steve, that is one hell of a story. That is potentially, this will be skyrocket from a best discussion perspective right to the top. That was, I'm just speechless on where that all started and where it is now, into the success that you achieved. It's actually quite inspirational, and at the end of the day, though, there's all the hard work that sits behind it, and still operating out of your garage. And like I say, I should have had a bottle of the product. I've got it downstairs because I got it as I walk out the door before I go running. I always take a Cadel to get my breath. And when I'm running with someone, that's weird because I try to talk but I just can't get my breath. But when I take rocket fuel, it actually, I got my breath straight away because it opens everything out. And that's why you would just saves me a kilometre of gasping. As I say, I'm just learning to breathe again when I'm running with someone. But Deb, when I said I was talking to you, Deb said, "Stop it." She said, "We use rocket fuel in our family because my kids have asthma and I had sleeping problems, blah, 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 blah." So Deb's got a bad back today, actually, so she might need some of your soothing gel, so she's working from home. But probably Deb sits there and listens to the podcast. But I can't wait to tell her about the story of where it's all come from. Mate, I'm just, in awe. That is just inspiration. And I guess very, very quickly before we sort of end this chat, because I just don't think there's too much more to say, because I think it just said, look, in relation to the word influence, so we've got an influence podcast, Steve. What does the word influence mean to you? And
Influence.
Who influenced you on the journey in the early days?
Oh shit! There's a lot of people. I think the main one has been one of my older brothers. We're incredibly close. He started a landscaping business when he was 18, 19 years old. And he used to put a wheelbarrow into the bus tray, and he would go and cruise around. And he hung in there. He went through some absolute years and years of shit. He built natural habitats into one of the biggest landscaping companies in New Zealand. Sold out for a really big sum a number of years ago to a big syndicate, and still maintains a really good share. But his inspiration, mate. Nothing was too hard. Said yes to everything. I'm the same. I say yes to everything, and just get into it. And if you make a mistake, learn from your fucking mistakes, mate. If you keep repeating, then you deserve to go down. But if you learn from your mistakes, that's going to give you strength for the next time. And the other thing I would say is, don't get influenced by other people in a negative way. Make sure yeah, make sure your influence is positive and that it's not negative. You know, surround yourself with positive. You know, you need, especially when you're working for yourself, Matt. You know, I'm the tip of the spear. You know, when our team is winning, when the company is winning, it's not me, it's the team. If shit goes wrong, it's me, and I own it 100%, Matt. That's it. It stops there. You know, so everyone says, "Oh my God, you've done an amazing job." We've done an amazing job. You know, yeah, it's and that's what it's about. There's no I in team, mate.
Mate, let's leave it on that, Savvy Steve. That conversation, that story has blown my mind. That's the highlight of my day, highlight of my week. It's just I just so grateful that you could tell us that story. So, team, I'm not even going to try and summarise what Steve said today. I think I hope you enjoyed that story. It was phenomenal. I've never heard a business story articulated so beautifully from start to finish, from business that's so successful. And it's not just about success financially. It's about, here's my message: go out and buy some rocket fuel. Go out and buy some of Savvy Steve and Savvy Touches products, and you'll be grateful. Like, I know I am. So, and I'm grateful that I met Steve and his amazing wife, Lindsay. Mate, unbelievable. Just so much gratitude. I just can't thank you enough. So,
thank you for listening or viewing our Find Your Influence podcast with Anton Guinea. Another great chat. Please be one of the 10% of people who follow and subscribe and like our videos so that you can get more of them and you can hear more of our amazing conversations, the conversations that I get to have and that I get to share.